Hey there, it's your host Dan. Today we're going to be replacing a power mirror switch here on an early C4 Corvette. Reason for replacement on this switch: it works fine in all directions except for up. It's a little spongy. Sometimes you'd almost have to really yank on it to the point where you feel like you're going to break it off, and then sometimes it would work fine. And so I'm pretty confident that replacing the switch is going to fix the issue. So let's get started swapping that out. But in order to swap out the switch, we have to get access to it, which this bezel panel here is going to have to be removed. This can't just come off first by itself because we have to get the bezel around the center stack there off first. So let's get started with that. Two screws here. There's one down in the corner, and there's also one in the upper corner. Okay, now that I took a couple screws out, and they are different sizes, I'm going to stick them in a paper plate just so they don't get lost, and this is also going to make sure that they go in the exact order that they came back out of. There are two more screws on this side as well, so let's get those out. There's two more screws right up under the edge of the dash pad. One on the left, one on the right. Two more screws down here in the lower corner. We'll undo those. And I recommend doing these all by hand, taking them out and putting them back in, because the plastic in these cars is pretty fragile. So I wouldn't use a drill at all. There's one last remaining screw, which is on the side right there. That's the one you want to make sure you don't miss, because if you start pulling on this bezel and you didn't take that one out because you didn't see it, you might start cracking things. So that's the last one we got to get out. That's our 9th screw, and then the bezel will be free to come off. There we go. Kind of just get it up out of the way. Next, we'll remove the screws under the console lid. This side has two. There's one for the clip that holds down your console door. Next, we have the two screws behind the window switches. That's everything that's holding it in at the rear. So this should be able to pop up now. There we go. Just kind of got to pull on it just a little bit. It's only the screws in the back holding it, the screws behind the window switch, and here's why you have to take the center stack off, because of these tabs right here with the screws. These would break if you tried to pry on this. Reach back and undo the tabs for the cigarette lighter connection, so you're not pulling on that and breaking it. With the bezel up and out of the way, you kind of have some access, but you kind of don't. The front part of this is all sealed. This right here is a hole where I can get my finger in there, and I can feel the spring clip on it. I could probably get more access by taking the side panel off, but I really don't want to, because I think I can get it through this hole. So what I'm going to do is apply some finger action here, pull that clip off, but I know once the clip falls off, it's going to fall down into the console. So I'm going to use a magnet tool here along with that. Hopefully I can pull that off with my finger and pull this up in the same swoop. Well, alright, I got my fingers in there and got that thing free, and I didn't drop it. Although I probably still could have got it out with this anyways, but that's the spring clip that holds the switch on from the back. So the switch should just pop right out just like it does. Hopefully we've got some slack on here and we're not bow-guarded where we have to take some more stuff apart to get to that plug. And with a little coaxing, it looks like I can get enough slack to just barely get this plug to pull through the hole. That way I can swap it out easily. And before I wrap this up, because that clip's going to be real tough to get on the back, but I think I can get it on there. Let's make sure it works. Okay, it works. Let's proceed with putting Humpty Dumpty back together again. Alright, I got that spring clip on the back side of it pushed on, and what made it a little bit easier is the switch that does the left or right mirror. I just took the two screws out so this way I could get a little cavity and get my other hand in here to hold the top of the spring clip down so I didn't drop it down in the cavity. And it only took me about 2 minutes to get that little spring clip back on. One thing to keep in mind when you're lowering the console plate, to keep that little gear shift indicator, the little slider, down there on the pin of the shifter, so when you shift into gears that displays properly. To further illustrate, when you shift the shifter, this indicator here should show you what gear you're in. So if you missed that step and you didn't get that little hook onto the post of the shifter there, this isn't going to work. When you're all done, you're going to realize that this isn't working. You're going to have to take it all apart again just to fix that. So make sure you don't miss that step. All I have left to do is just basically put these screws back in to the panels, and the way I arranged them on the paper plate makes sense to me. I could come back a year later and every screw would go back in its exact spot. And the reason for this is that I have about 3 different types of screws here, and some of them are varying lengths. So I want to make sure that they go back where they came from. It just keeps things simple. And then my last little screw is that one that goes on the very side of the dash bezel. Got all the screws back into place. Everything's back the way it should. Tested it out already. I'm just going to double check it, test it one more time just to make absolutely sure that everything functions as it should. There we go. Up, down, left, right. So we're good. Switch replaced. Pretty easy swap. Only took about 30 minutes tops. Minimal tools required. All you really need was the number 2 screwdriver and the magnetic pickup tool and a paper plate to hold my spare screws. Only cost 35 bucks. Easy job anybody can do. If you took this into a dealer, this would cost you a minimum of 10 times the amount. So I hope you found the tips useful. Hope you enjoyed watching the video, and as always, thanks for watching.